Hello, everyone. A happy Shushan Purim for the majority of the world. A happy Purim for those celebrating Purim today in Yerushalayim, or for those that myself are celebrating 2 days of Purim due to various halachic considerations. Just before we leave Purim and go on to other things, I wanted to ask a fundamental question. There were many days in the Megillat Ta'anit that used to be, in which we didn't have any hespedim, any eulogies. There was an Isser Tainis, you're not allowed to fast, and only Purim had a Chiyuv Seuda. Only Purim had an obligation to have a meal. Many have explained the reason is because on Purim, the Jews reaffirmed the Sinai covenant. We read in the Megillah, Ki yemu v'kiblu Yehudim, the Jews fulfilled and accepted upon themselves, upon them and upon their children, not just the days of Purim, but rather the entire Torah then. In a word, it was a reconfirmation ceremony. And therefore, just like on Shavuos there's an obligation to eat a meal, so too on Purim there's an obligation to eat a meal, not so much only because there were great meals in the Megillah, and many of the miracles happened around those meals, but because we got the Torah willingly at Shavuos. Namely, we reconfirmed our obligation to the Torah willingly. I believe this is so true in so many areas of Judaism. Coercion versus freedom of choice. But allow me to mention one in the context of davening. I think it's a mistake to hush people during davening. Unless it's impossible to hear the chazan or the Baal Koreh, I think it's very much like having a police car parked on the road. When you see it, you slow down. The minute you don't see it in your rear view mirror, you start speeding again. The way to educate people to drive safely is by education, is by courses, is by commercials. And that's the way they will start driving safely. And the way to educate people not to talk during davening is not so much to say shush or to say hey, 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 or to stop davening. I believe the way to do it is by influence, inspiration, and all of that outside of davening. I have a rule of the thumb. If you care so much about talking and davening, you'll talk about it after davening. Namely, you'll call the person maybe 2-3 days later and say to them, what you do disturbs, and maybe I could inspire you to stop talking during davening. Or maybe I could inspire you to the importance of davening that hopefully will make it impossible for you to think of talking. I think that the Megillah and the events of Purim teach us coercion doesn't work. Freedom of choice works much further. Wishing everyone a happy Purim.